When you looked at me, what did you see? Were you worried about me? Did you see my frightened eyes? Did you see my dirty clothes? Did you see that it's cold and I don't have a coat? Did you notice the bruise on my head? I didn't smile at you when you smiled at me. Did you hear when my mum was nasty to me? Did you notice how I looked? Have you noticed how quiet I am compared to the other kids my age? Are you a bit worried about me? If you are, please do something about it. Talk to someone. Tell someone. Help me, please.
What are you looking for? What are you checking for? Stop looking at my phone. No, you know what I'm talking about.
Over recent years, we've had several incidents where children, young people and adults have been harmed, sometimes very seriously, sometimes resulting even in death. It's important that we know what action needs to be taken, when, and how to go about doing that. This organisation also is the first port of call for many members of the public, and it's important that when they are vulnerable, they know that we're there and we can help them and protect them.
When we talk about safeguarding, we talk about children growing up with safe and effective care so that they have the best opportunities in life. Part of that includes protecting them from harm. There are 4 types of child abuse: neglect, physical, emotional and sexual abuse. However, it's unlikely a child will only experience one type of abuse. For instance, if you physically abuse a child, you'll also emotionally abuse them. There's also a strong correlation between sexual abuse and physical abuse. We all only see tiny pieces of other people's lives, but when you put together a jigsaw of what people are seeing around a child's life, that may be when concerns arise. You may see a child with an injury following an accident, but when the parent gives you the history of how the accident happened, it doesn't fit how you would sustain that injury. We know disabled children are more likely to be abused than non-disabled. However, children are often abused because of something to do with their parents or carers, such as domestic violence or drug and alcohol misuse. People most likely to abuse children are probably within their own family or set of carers. Children don't tend to lie about abuse. They're more likely not to tell us they've been abused rather than invent something. That's either out of fear or loyalty to the perpetrator.
Matthew Browning, please.
Dad, could I go round to Sophie's house later?
Maybe. Let's see what time we get home. Hi, Lucy. You broken the machine again?
Very funny, Gary. Look over there. Do you think she's all right?
She's probably got that bug flying around and feels really rubbish.
I've been working at the practice for quite some time now, and you do get to see all kinds of different people. But what was very strange that day was seeing 2 girls almost exactly the same age, but acting very differently. One girl looked so sad and withdrawn, there was no contact with her mother at all. The other was talking merrily away to her father.
The red one we saw in the shop.
Oh, the sparkly one.
The girl who looked sad, she wasn't wearing the right shoes. She looked cold, her hands were dirty, and her hair looked as if it hadn't been brushed for weeks. I was really very concerned about her, but I didn't know what to do. All I could do was hope that Gary was right and she was just not feeling very well. Later that day I bumped into Dr. Connor in the staff kitchen. Oh, is there any water in that kettle?
Yeah, it should be enough for a couple of mugs.
Good, I need a coffee. Did you see Mrs. Talbot earlier? She came in with her daughter. Did you notice anything odd about her?
Who, the mother?
No, the daughter.
Like what?
Well, when they were in the waiting room, the daughter seemed very withdrawn. I was just a bit worried about her.
To be honest, I was too busy talking to the mother, but now you come to mention it, I must admit there wasn't much interaction between them.
I was left with a gut feeling that something wasn't quite right, but I just didn't know what to do.
If we look at the little girl in the waiting room, she's sitting there quietly. There's no real eye contact between her and the adult that's with her. They don't even talk to each other. The little girl looks thin, pale, tired. Her hair's dishevelled. Her fingernails are really quite grubby. And if you look at the fact that everybody else is wearing a coat and winter clothing, she's not really properly dressed for the weather. It's easy to see that something's not right with that little girl if you compare her to the other child in the waiting room who's the same age. She's dressed warmly, she looks happy, she's talking to the adult that's with her. People are often fearful of getting it wrong. They worry that they make a false accusation and the child's taken into care. However, we can see signs that there's something wrong in that child's life. The receptionist was right to be worried. She needs to talk to her line manager or the child protection team as soon as possible.
It's important to safeguard both adults and children, but child protection is probably well known. It's unlikely that a lot of people have heard of adult protection, so it's important that we make people aware. A vulnerable adult is someone who's aged 18 or over and may be or is in need of community care services. They may be old or frail or ill and unable to protect themselves from harm or exploitation from others. There are 7 categories of adult abuse. The same 4 as in child protection: neglect, physical, emotional and sexual. In adult protection there are 3 further categories: discriminatory, financial and institutional. Discriminatory can apply to someone's age, sex, colour or to their disability. This can also relate to slurs, harassment or bullying. Financial. This covers theft, fraud, exploitation of funds, or an undue interest in someone's financial affairs. Institutional. This covers how people are treated or looked after within an institutional setting, such as a care home. We would expect the same high standards wherever people are looked after. The instigators of adult abuse are more likely to be somebody that the vulnerable adult knows, either somebody within their own family or somebody who's paid to look after them, a paid carer.
Recently I did a visit at the home of Samantha Hills. She's just had her 3rd baby and she's been suffering from postnatal depression. How are you feeling?
Not good. It's been really hard and I'm just so tired.
Her mum Primrose has just moved in with them, and I understand that she's just sold her house and the money from the sale's going to pay towards Samantha's mortgage, and the balance, I think, was going to pay towards a granny annex for her. I think you described Primrose as rather a grand old lady, and she looked really well for her age. So how do you like your new home?
It's wonderful being here. I love being with my family, and Samantha's such a nice daughter and looking after me so well.
A few weeks later, I visited Samantha again. I noticed a change in her behaviour. She was really stressed. I know she's had postnatal depression, but this was different.
It's just so hard with the kids. I'm not getting any sleep.
It must be difficult.
The mum, she does nothing to help. Nothing. All she does is tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Samantha said her husband had been working really long hours and so couldn't really help with the children. She also said that her mum was really critical of everything that she did and was no help round the house, and so this made Samantha really stressed. I was concerned and I arranged another visit, and during that visit I noticed that Primrose, Samantha's mum, was really unkempt and really distracted. I also noticed that she had bruises on her wrist, but when I tried to speak to her, she just wouldn't reply.
You're looking much better.
Yeah, I'm feeling okay, but I'm really busy. I forgot you were coming.
Oh, right.
Look, I need to go to the shops. I need to get milk for the baby.
Okay, yeah. And how are you, Primrose? Primrose?
Look, I really do need to go now.
Okay. How about I come back next Thursday?
Sure.
Okay. I have to say, the bruises worried me, but I got the impression from Samantha that I wasn't welcome, so I made an appointment for a follow-up visit and left. Hello, Primrose. Can I come in?
Samantha's sleeping.
Are you okay? When I arrived at the house for my next visit, Primrose answered the door. I noticed she was still unkempt, but her bruises were fading. But then I noticed she was limping. She was agitated and her speech was slurred. I asked her how she got her limp, and she said Samantha did it. She was pushed against a banister. More alarmingly, she said she was being forced to take pills, and she was convinced her family were trying to kill her, and that they were after her money.
And they keep knocking me about. But I don't want you to say anything to them. Don't say anything, it'll cause so much trouble.
She was terrified I would tell someone.
What Sue, the health visitor, should do in this situation is reassure Primrose that she's done absolutely the right thing in confiding to her what's happened to her. Primrose seems terrified that Sue is going to tell someone else about what she's just disclosed. Sue has the responsibility of assuring Primrose that because of the seriousness of this situation, she has to tell her line manager. It's absolutely vital that Sue keeps an accurate record of this incident. Unlike child protection, where everybody's expected to look out for children, we assume adults are able to look after themselves and make decisions for themselves. If they feel that something's not right, we assume that the adult will speak out and say, I don't feel comfortable with this, I don't want to do this. But unfortunately, it doesn't always happen like that. We also assume that if somebody's looking after a vulnerable adult, that they will make decisions that act on their best interests. Unfortunately, this is not always so. If you have any concerns or niggles at the back of your brain that something is not quite right that you've seen or heard, please contact your line manager or a member of the Safeguarding Vulnerable Adults team.
Everyone in the organisation, from the most senior members right down to the frontline staff, must act if they have a concern. We will provide staff with advice, support and training to enable them to undertake this vitally important role. And we will be there with them all the way through the process if they have to go into raising a concern. If you see something that concerns you or worries you, please report it. You can make a real difference. You may protect somebody from harm. You may even save a life.